All right, we are live. Hello and welcome to AWS Repost Live, the companion live stream for repost.aws, where we dive deep into questions and use cases from our Repost community. That's you all. Thanks for joining the show. My name is Anup Shivadas. I'm a principal solutions architect here at AWS, based out of Herndon, Northern Virginia. And today's topic is going to be very exciting one around end of standard support for Aurora and some RDS engine, and how you can gracefully upgrade and make sure you don't get the extended support cost and all. There is a lot of content there to unpack. And to help me, I have Kiran and Vivek, who are deep experts in this topic. Kiran, why don't you start with us and do a quick intro and say hi to the audience?
Hello everyone, myself Kiran Mayamulapuru, and I am a senior database specialist here at AWS. With 7 years of experience here, I have been helping enterprise customers providing the best practices and that drive efficiency and innovation. Thank you so much for joining today's session.
Thank you. Vivek, over to you.
Thanks, Anup, for having me here. Hi, everyone. I'm Vivek Singh, based out of Dallas, Texas. I'm with AWS for the last 9 years, and my background and expertise has been thoroughly Aurora and RDS PostgreSQL. Before AWS, I have around 10 years of Postgres DB and architect experience. Happy to be here. And in general, at AWS, I help enterprise support customers for their Aurora and RDS Postgres solutions and sharing operational best practices.
That's awesome. So you can clearly see the audience. We have the right experts here on the show, and we're going to really dive deep into this topic of extended support. How do you upgrade, etc. Right? So before we dive into the topic itself, in the chat, let us know where you're joining us from. Just say hi from the location. It'll be nice to see you from where you're joining. And if you haven't checked Repost yet, right, just choose your favorite browser. Go to repost.aws, sign up using your AWS account ID or builder ID, and there is a lot of goodness there, right? You can ask questions, you can explore articles, knowledge center articles, you can join communities. We have a database community, by the way. So a lot of goodness. Just head over to repost.aws and explore the platform. It's absolutely rich, right? Cool. And also let us know in the chat, right? There is a survey out there, and we would love to know your feedback on what is going well, what is need to be improved, what topics you like to discuss, etc. I would love to get your perspective on that survey as well, right? Cool. So Vivek and Kiran, right? So today we are going to dive a little bit into some of the announcements we made around Aurora PostgreSQL end of standard support for a particular, a major edition, right? That's 12.x. And we also have, again, similar lines to Aurora PostgreSQL. We also made an announcement around RDS as well, right? So if you look at the first post, it came from one of our experts. And this is, again, an announcement, right? So you can see similar announcement on Repost about things that's happening in this world around databases and whatnot. So as you can see, Guru is an expert who is talking about the announcement, right? And it's all about end of support for or standard support, right, for some of the Aurora and RDS engine. So Vivek, why don't we start there, right, and talk about what's going on here, right?
Awesome, very good. Would you like to share my screen, and then I can walk through the announcement?
Yeah, let's do that.
Awesome, cool. So if you are using Aurora PostgreSQL, say it Aurora Postgres or RDS PostgreSQL, every major version has an end of life, or you say end of support from community side. For an example, PostgreSQL 12 got the end of support in last year, November 2024. Mm-hmm. What happens that being managed services, Aurora and RDS, they give you a few more months And that's how the end of standard support of Aurora PostgreSQL and RDS has been 28th of February this year. After that, the databases would be under RDS extended support. We will talk more about it later on. But I would like to mention one important thing here, that as you see that this repost announcement, I would definitely subscribe these tags like RDS or databases so that you will not miss these announcements. And getting these announcements at timely manner is very important so that you can take the action as per your wish and upgrade it in the timely manner.
Got it. So your recommendation is to subscribe to the post.
For sure. Like for example, if you are using MariaDB or MySQL or Oracle, things might have the end of different. There are a variety of end of life. The services which have extended support, it could be called end of extended support. After that, it would be extended support. Few things like Aurora Serverless version V1, it does not have extended support, so it can be called end of support or end of life. So recently, I published a blog on PostgreSQL 12 end of life and upgrade strategies, which was published on AWS Data Blog. And I would like to go through some of the key items of this blog. Yeah. So if you want, I can also share this link here.
Yeah, I think that'll be shared for sure.
Awesome.
Yeah, I think I think we can just take one question that's probably in everybody's mind, right? And we have a question from JibJab as well. And I was thinking about that as we were kind of talking, right? Is it common for AWS to post major announcements on repost, right?
That's a valid question. And as many of you might be knowing, that repost is fairly newer initiative compared to some other options what we had. So recently, RDS service team said Aurora or RDS, they are using the repost platform to announce it to the public. Otherwise, it could be in the form of blog or what is new in the RDS in those forms. But I would definitely recommend to subscribe so that you don't miss these announcements.
Yeah.
So as far as I know, I can certainly tell you that all these end of support announcements are going to come on repost.
Absolutely. Yeah. So definitely, look for repost, subscribe to some of our, content on repost as well. And again, if you're just joining the show, welcome to the show. We are going to talk about, we are going to dive deep actually into some of the exciting areas around, extended support, end of standard support for Aurora and RDS as well. So if you've just joined, this is a great platform. We're going to dive really deep into these topics, right? Cool. Vivek, I think, there is a release calendar, right? Which I've seen, when I spoke with some of our customers. So where can a customer see or who is interested in this whole release cycle, right? Is there a calendar? Can you talk a little bit about that as well?
Yeah, sure. That's a good question, Anu, because customers ask me that. I said that Postgres 13 has end of support by next year. Yep. Well, had this year in February, but how to look at the holistic picture? Like how about PostgreSQL 16 or 17? So I would definitely recommend that you can easily search, say that Aurora PostgreSQL release calendar, or if you have the link, you can also share with the audience here. Otherwise, this is the way what you can find that end of release date and what is the starting of the date. In the same way, you can find the release calendar for RDS PostgreSQL. That's how you can understand that. For example, 16.6 has the announced community release date 21st November 24, and then end of standard support would be 31st May of 2026. That's how you can look at the calendar, and then you can look at the holistic picture, but like not only for 12 or 13, how about my higher versions? In the same way, you can get for RDS also.
Got it. That totally makes sense. So we have, as you said, we have calendar for PostgreSQL. We have calendar for MariaDB. So we have this entire support structure, which is well detailed, right? And if standard support is over, then the period comes into the extended support, and there is an overhead around extended support, and the overhead is around cost, right? We charge a certain amount with that. Yeah. So that totally makes sense. Again, we have a lot of people joining. Hey, Abbas, thank you for joining. Really appreciate you taking the time to join as well. And as you see in the chat, we have shared all the calendar which Vivek mentioned as well. So just bookmark the calendar, subscribe to all these repost announcement, and you'll be pretty much good to go, right? Cool. So I think, Vivek, this is great, right? I think it's time for us to kind of switch gears a little bit here and talk about. Again, we little bit touched on extended support, but what happens, right, if a customer does not update their instance before the required date, right? What happens in that situation? I'm a little nervous.
Awesome. Yeah, sure. Awesome question. And that is one of the commonly asked question to us also. It's all good about the minor version, end of life, major version, end of support.
Yeah.
But what happens if we don't update? So that's a good question. So let me tell you from basics that in order to give better database experience, recently RDS started something called Amazon RDS Extended Support, starting from the last year.
Yep.
So that customers would have the option to run the databases on the end of life versions. Even though community has ended the support on those versions, Aurora and RDS engineering team, they invest their resources to make their version running for your databases. And for that, you need to pay additional cost that comes as the RDS extended support. I would definitely recommend to go to the AWS cost website. And then you can find that the RDS extended support cost depends on the two items.
Yeah.
One is the number of virtual CPU on your instance. That means higher the instance class, higher the cost. Number two, where this RDS instance is hosted. So feel free if you have follow-up. Meanwhile, I can bring that website.
Yeah, that's great as well. I think we have a question which we can touch on that as well. But I see, Henny from South Africa. I hope, Henny, I'm pronouncing your name right. Henny is actually a community builder for serverless, which is awesome, and a user group Cape Town leader as well. Thank you, Henny, for joining. Hope this topic is going to be exciting, that you can spread the news in South Africa as well, so that people upgrade on time and have a graceful experience as well. So, Vivek, as you pull that website, right, I think it's time for us to talk about a question, which is absolutely
sure. Please,
yeah. So the question we have is, if I just switch my tabs here quickly, exactly on this topic, right? So we have a question from one of the users, Brotherly here. Again, I like that username for sure. It's talking about, hey, I've just checked the RDS recommendation with PostgreSQL extended support to be applied on February and all, exactly like you mentioned. The user is specifically interested in what is that cost, right, for that extended support charge here, right? I think we have answered that well, and it's already been vetted by an expert as well. So I think this is an opportunity for you to stress on that numbers, right? Yeah.
So I would like to mention two things here. Number one is that if you're going in the RDS extended support, make sure that you optimize your instance class. You might be using higher instance class, or you might be using some of the readers or replicas which you are not using. For that, I would definitely recommend to talk with your technical account manager if you are an enterprise support customer, and schedule a database review, so that a database SME like me or Kiran can review your database and make sure that you have optimized your scale compute, your compute instances. You may need to scale up or scale down, but feel free to schedule an operational review, and then we'll be happy to do that. Number two thing is that when we talk about RDS extended support, I want to mention that there is a particular version that supports the RDS extended support. For example, for RDS and Aurora PostgreSQL provisioned instances, it's 12.22. That means if you're on 12.16, for an example, on the February 28th, your databases would be automatically upgraded to 12.22 in order to support the extended support. So make sure that if you plan to go to extended support, manually upgrade your databases to 12.22, because nobody likes to have the automated upgrade, because you may not control the application outage and the reboot in a good manner compared to doing by yourself.
Yeah. That totally makes sense. Absolutely. Cool. So I guess if you are just joining, right? So we've been chatting about, the end of standard support for Aurora PostgreSQL 12.x version. And then we are talking about the extended support, what are the cost overhead for extended support, etc. Now we're going to switch gears a little bit and kind of talk about a few more questions that we are having, right? And when I was a database administrator or engineer for that matter, I kind of dealt with parameter groups and option groups and all those goodness, right? So the question we have from Old Man, again, one interesting user here, Old Man, talking about like major version upgrade from 12 to 16. Do we need to create a new option group before upgrading, or one will be created automatically during the upgrade process? Right? I think that is top of mind for a lot of
people.
Right?
Sure.
Yeah.
So I would like to discuss here a few things. Number one is that for major versions, what are the key options we have? Number two is that how this option group is connected with the major version upgrade in Aurora or RDS. So let me start with that. If you can look at my screen, this is my AWS account. And you see that this is my RDS PostgreSQL database called TestDB. So there are multiple ways to upgrade it. My first choice is the managed upgrade by AWS. It is included in your managed support. That is also called in-place upgrade. But it causes the downtime for the larger databases. For an example, if you compare the downtime comparing to 1 gig database compared to 100 terabyte, the downtime may be higher depending on the number of the tables and the size of the data. So I would suggest that if you try to compare the upgrade strategies, first go with the in-place upgrade testing and see that how much downtime you are facing. Let me tell you few quick tips that how you can save the downtime during the in-place upgrade. So when you hit the upgrade, let me show you how do you do it. First, you select the database and then select the modify. And then here you can select the which version you want to go. This is the one way to find it out that which version you want to go. From that version, you can go directly to 15, 16. So at most you can go to 16.8. But I will show you one way that how you can find the target versions. So once you select the version and then you come down, you need to go with the continue and then apply immediately. So need to make sure that once we opt apply immediately, it will apply any pending maintenance in your maintenance window. That's the reason that look at your maintenances and apply this beforehand so that the downtime is not being extended. Any question, Anup, you have on this one?
No, that's absolutely clear, right? So you pretty much like choose apply immediately if that's the right thing to do.
Yes, exactly. Question comes up then how to find the pending maintenance. So if you go to the database and then you see there are certain tabs here. So monitoring for sure, this is for your CloudWatch monitoring and all. If you come there, there is maintenance and backups. So under the maintenance, I don't have anything because I recently created this database for this demo. But you may find some pending maintenance like OS patch, which you are keep deferring in order to avoid the reboot and all. So all these maintenances will happen during the upgrade what you have opted. And what you found that in the testing environment, it took less time, but in the production, it may take high time because there might be some pending maintenance. One more thing I want to mention that how to decrease the downtime in the managed upgrade. So yeah, during the upgrade, RDS takes the pre-upgrade backup. So that depends that when the last automated backup was taken, and it's the incremental backup. So assume that your pre-upgrade backup was taken 22 hours before, and then your database has been so active that in 22 hours, it generated 100 gig of the new data or updated data. So it will keep backing up, and that may take longer time. So what you will feel like that in testing environment, which you just created from restoring a snapshot, my upgrade was fast. It took like 10 minutes, but here it took like half an hour. This could be one of the reasons. So number one was the pending maintenance. Number two could be the pre-upgrade backup. In order to simplify the pre-upgrade backup, I would recommend to run a manual backup before the upgrade. Manual backup is online. You don't need to stop your database. Just run the manual backup. What it will do that during the pre-upgrade backup, it will be fast because the differentiation is low, or you can say that the incremental data is very low. Yeah. That is one of the silver bullet what you can use to reduce your downtime. I have written a blog post also. I can share it with RDS PostgreSQL upgrade best practices.
Cool, you're on top of that already. Yeah, that's awesome.
Yeah, so this is my first blog and one of the most commonly asked and used. Sorry, not this one. RDS best practices. This one. Sorry, yeah. So this one originally published on 2019 and then updated on 2022. Every couple of years, I make sure that blog is updated. So this is the one which talks about tips and tricks like the one which I discussed to make sure that you are following the optimized practices, best practices for your upgrade, right? So in the question, what else we have? Okay. So yeah. So coming to the core question here, he was talking about the OP or the original poster was asking about the option group, right?
Correct. Yeah.
So let me tell you that options group has nothing to do with the PostgreSQL databases. Option group you can use for SQL Server, RDS SQL Server, or Oracle. Yeah. These are the way to give you more options for the feature and operations point of view.
Right.
In PostgreSQL, it is done by the extensions. Talking about extensions, in community PostgreSQL, there are around 1,200 or more commonly used extensions. In RDS or Aurora, I think it's around 100.
Yeah.
So that is a different chapter, but one thing which is connected to the upgrade that you need to handle extensions by yourself. Some of the extensions like PG
Vector.
Yeah, PG Vector is the common one, and there are a few which you need to upgrade by yourself. Actually, that's what I'm trying to say that when you upgrade the databases, upgrade will not handle the extensions. What you need to do something like PG Vector, right? So alter extension PG Vector update to this kind of. So you need to run those commands by yourself, like HStore, or there are some more PG AWS S3 and all. You need to maintain by yourself. So make sure to find the list of extensions what you have, and then make sure you have command ready. And because it is managed by open source PostgreSQL community, there are some chances that you may not upgrade the extension. In that case, you need to drop the extension and then create new one in the higher version of PostgreSQL.
Makes sense.
We don't use option group, but we use here parameter group in the case of RDS or Aurora PostgreSQL. Yeah. Parameter group is a way where how you manage some of the parameters of PostgreSQL. If you are going to the higher version, make sure to create a custom parameter group for your higher version so that you can attach this parameter group with the upgraded database, reboot the instance, and those values would be assigned to your new database.
Got it. So it's a best practice. Got it. So what you are saying, again, just to kind of summarize, right? For parameter group, you create a new parameter group for the major version, and then you pretty much attach it, right? So as you have new major versions, you might have new parameter group, right? And
for sure. I mean, I can tell you that in the higher version of the PostgreSQL, memory utilization has been optimized. So you may need to reduce the custom value of work memory or maintenance work memory or any kind or shared buffers, any kind of the memory parameters. So make sure to learn from the PostgreSQL.org documentation, learn about the internals of the new PostgreSQL, and that's how you can figure out that what value you need to have on the higher version of PostgreSQL.
Totally awesome. So again, I mean, the repost user old man, I guess we've answered that question. We can move on. Again, Vivek, you've touched on this a little bit, right? How would I find an RDS upgrade target version, right?
That's a good question.
Back to that release release one.
Awesome.
You want to touch on that as well?
Yeah. So one common question is that, hey, I am on version 12. I want to go jump to 17 or 16. Is it possible?
Yeah.
So there are few benefits from being the cloud native managed database. Database service team or engineers, they can tweak the tools and make sure that it is giving you less downtime for upgrading. So I developed a CLI command, AWS CLI command. I will copy it here. And then if you want to use the CLI command, I would definitely recommend that install the latest version of AWS CLI. Are you able to see my Linux screen terminal here?
No, not yet. I think your screen will be up in a minute or so. So behind the scene, your screen is going to come.
Awesome.
There you go. Yeah.
Cool. So this is the CLI command, and as you can see that the engine version, the engine is Aurora PostgreSQL, and the current version I'm taking is 12.22. Enter. Yeah. And then you will see that these are the target versions. You can directly go to 16 or 13, 14, 15, or if it requires, right? For example, if I am on 12.16, right? So the value could be little different. Value 12.16 is giving you more versions here. So using this tool, you can find it out that do you want to skip a version and you want to go to the higher version.
Got it. So this is the CLI, right?
CLI command.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah. Cool. Awesome. And I guess we might have a release calendar too, which can.
Yes. For example, so that's a very good question. That how to choose the target version. So if I am a DB, I would definitely go to the release notes, like maybe 17 and 16. Yeah. And then I would make sure that whatever release has been done in this major version, are my applications compatible with these changes or not? Do I need to do some modification or not? For an example, coming from version 10 and onwards, they have done a lot of advancement in the index sizes. So if you go from Postgres 10 to 12, the index size for B-tree has been reduced by 80 to 90%. So you had to rebuild the indexes if you upgrade your version 10 PostgreSQL to 12 or higher. But you will know only once you look at the release notes what kind of changes has been done. Yeah. Any question? Please let me know here.
Yeah, awesome. This is awesome. And for the audience, right? Please ask questions throughout the show, right? So we are kind of talking about end of support for standard, end of standard support for Aurora, PostgreSQL, and RDS PostgreSQL specifically. So any questions on those engines, let us know. We are here live to answer your questions. Just send your questions. We'll be happy to dive deep. I know Kiran has been waiting patiently for a while now. Because Kiran is going to touch on a very exciting engine again, which is MariaDB. I guess, Kiran, that's your favorite engine. I'm just assuming here. Don't get me wrong. But Kiran, we have this announcement, right? If you can just go to my screen, it'll be good. It'll be coming up pretty shortly here. So we have this announcement exactly like Vivek covered. We have an announcement around MariaDB as well, which is ending standard support on February 28th, right? So thoughts about that, Kiran?
Sure. So similar to the Postgres, MariaDB 10.4 has reached the end of its community support in June 2024, right? What that means is since the community end of life has been, database has been running on that version, will no longer receive any critical updates, or if there is any bug fixes or if there is any security patches, you won't be able to receive them. So to provide some context about this thing, any major version for MariaDB, it's typically supported for at least 5 years after its initial release. When the life cycle ends, it is always recommended whoever the users running on those versions try to come to the latest version to maintain its security and as well as the performance. So similar to the open community, RDS also announced 10.4 has reached its end of standard support on February 28th, 2025.
Mm-hmm.
So unlike other database engines like Postgres or the MySQL, RDS MariaDB does not support the extended support for these major versions. So that is the challenge. So what happens as a result is users who are running on this MariaDB 10.4 on RDS
Mhm.
will be automatically upgraded to the MariaDB 10.11.8. That is what or the higher version. So
Got it.
if the customers are running on 10.5 apparently, then that version is also set for the community end of date as well as the RDS end of standard support in February 2026. So what I would say is, like, if you are running in any of these versions, or if any of these versions are getting deprecated, please plan ahead so that you can avoid unexpected downtime.
Yeah, totally makes sense. To kind of summarize what you're saying, 10.4 MariaDB, that is February 28, 2025. That's already over.
Yes.
And 10.5 is end of life in February, again, 2026. So we have some room, but again, it's good to plan and then avoid any outages, right? So, Kiran, that's great insights, right? So we have a question on repost to kind of talk about a situation a user is having. And again, this might be something which people might have seen. I've definitely seen this in the past, not with MariaDB, but different engines.
Yeah.
It's around upgrading, right? So we are on the topic of upgrade as well, which is pretty good. So we got this question from the user Ranpo with repost talking about, I upgraded MariaDB on RDS from 10.6 to 10.11, but the RDS instance is stuck in the state upgrading, right?
Yeah.
So, what can go wrong here? What could be the reason? How do you troubleshoot? Do you want to share some perspective here?
Yeah. Some of the common causes for this, upgrade stuck is, one of the reason is like the storage issue, right? So ensure that you have enough storage, at least 10%, so that you will have the smooth transition from this upgrade process. And another thing that I always suggest customers is to see if there is any long running transactions or the queries. Let's say if there is any blocking queries, that can also delay the upgrade process. So make sure these are not the challenges that you are facing when you're doing the upgrade. And as well as, like, if there is any network delay, that can also cause the delay in the upgrade process. So make sure these are not the problems or challenges that you are come across with. And also, I have seen another problem with the parameter incompatibility. Like you have to always review as a best practice to see if the parameter group settings are appropriate to the newer version or not. Those are some of the common causes for that can delay or stuck the upgrade process. So what can you do is, like, can I share my screen, Anup?
Yeah, absolutely. Go for it. Yeah.
Sure. Okay, cool. So if you see this, this is my test instance. So if you can see that, like, the first most thing, if the upgrade itself is stuck, what I will do is I will come to the log and events and see what is the upgrade process is taking. Is it taking the snapshot? As Vivek mentioned, that snapshot can take a longer time if the delta incremental changes are higher, right? So make sure that you are looking at these events and see if everything is fine. Yes, you are seeing that everything is going good. And another important thing is look at the instance itself, right? One of the common challenges, like, if it is in the available state or the upgrade state, then that is a good sign, right? You don't need to do anything. But if it is stopped or any other state other than this, then it is a concern, right? So make sure this instance is in a healthy state. That can also give you some information, right? And another important thing that I usually check is the monitoring, right? Make sure you are not having any abnormal activity, or, like, if there is any unusual pattern that you observe in this CloudWatch metrics, right? Let's say if the memory itself is crunch, right? That can also make the database stuck for the upgrade. So those are the things that I usually see. And there is any pending maintenance window, like, that can also trigger the time when you have upgraded whatever the pending maintenance window is. Like, let's say you have upgraded something else, like, you have changed it. So that will also take into the immediate action, right, before the prior to the upgrade. So make sure there is no pending activity before you apply to the any major version upgrades.
That's awesome, Kiran. I think you've covered a lot of angles here. I'm pretty sure the audience is going to be like, looking at those angles of troubleshooting. And again, if you have enterprise support, like developer support or enterprise support, or different mediums of support, feel free to raise a case with us as well. Our engineers are always on call, and we can just jump in and help as well, right? So that's again your plan B if no troubleshooting steps is kind of helping. Great. I guess we can switch gears a little bit, Kiran and Vivek. I think one of the key things which I kind of see coming all the time when I talk to customers is, right, I have like hundreds of instances running when I'm, like running multiple accounts, right? Enterprise customers, startups, you name it, right? There is, I rarely see a customer who has like a handful of database instances. This will be like a lot of clusters and whatnot, right? So as the most important thing is, right, where can I check to see what current versions I'm running, whether there are any, upcoming or outstanding updates, etc. Is there a place where customers can look at those data, right, and get a feel of what's going on?
Of course, so there is a health dashboard, right? AWS health dashboard. This is the one which I always recommend customers to follow, because this is something like a guide for everyone to see what is happening, what is going to happen. That's all information is visible in this dashboard. So this is highly recommended. And you can see if there is any scheduled changes are happening for these particular instances. As you can see, for one of my instance, it's been ready for the upgrade, right? So you can get all the information here, like what is upcoming, what would be the status, and what service it has been affected, and what is the region it has, and the description of this one. For an instance, for me, the deprecation is set for the Aurora Serverless v1. As you all know, it has been extended from 31st to March 31st, which is a good news. So that is set for the end of support, for the standard support for the Aurora Serverless v1. So any customers who are running on this version, please plan ahead so that you can avoid the unexpected downtime before the maintenance window comes in, and we start applying that maintenance window, like starting April 7th onwards. Aurora Serverless cluster will not be upgraded, so automatically we will put it in the fleet and it will be upgraded to the latest version. So to avoid such things, I would definitely recommend you to follow this health dashboard. And to check, to your question, to check what are the instances or affected resources, here is the one you can get the on or resource ID. That's where you usually go and check the affected instances.
That's awesome. And before I ask another question, I just want to add perspective, right? So if you are, having like hundreds of accounts, right, you mostly will be using AWS Organization. So I'm pretty sure that AWS Health Dashboard rolls up to AWS Organization as well. So you can configure AWS, Health Dashboard within the context of organization, and then you can get this single pane of glass view within that organization context, right? So it's pretty simple and seamless to kind of do that manner as well. And Kiran, while you were kind of showing the screen, I could see that there is an Amazon Event Bridge rule that you can configure, which can actually probably help you send an email alert to you, or even just text you. I think there is a lot of goodness with Event Bridge you can do, right? Do you want to talk a little bit on that as well, if you want?
Certainly. So Amazon Event Bridge rules you can set up for any automatic alarms, right, that you wanted to watch for your AWS services, and that will give you the notification of what specific instances or the events are happening in this instances, like AWS accounts, right? So for example, if you wanted to get an instant notification for any EC2 instance is getting stopped, right? Or if it is running and it is stopped, you wanted to get the event notification, that you can trigger an alarm based on the event bridge. And also, like similar to the S3 bucket, right? If you are having any updates in the S3 bucket, that is also an important notification that usually users wants to know, right? So that is what, whatever the changes happen across all the AWS environment, this is the place.
Yeah, that's awesome. Yeah, I love that. I love that for sure. Anything proactive is always something which I'm game. We have a question, by the way. We have a question around, on-ramp, right? So with enterprise support, there are different modes of, or tiers of support. We have enterprise support, we have developer support. We have also enterprise on-ramp. So the question is, as an on-ramp customer, would AWS handle these updates for me, right? Vivek or Kiran, who
I would love to answer this question. So that's a good question, because let me add a story here. Recently, I was working with a large customer, and they had 400 database instances, and they were asking that if there is any way AWS can help them to upgrade these instances. So being on-ramp customer as well as enterprise support customer, there are some offerings from AWS which you can use. And if you want to gain the confidence to upgrade your databases, the one is called CDP, also known as Countdown Premium. AWS Countdown Premium, formerly known as IEM, is a specialized AWS service designed to help organizations plan and execute critical cloud events like migration and upgrades. So what happens that you need to reach out to your technical account manager. They will set up a Countdown Premium event for you. That means you will get assistance from specialized SME support engineers, as well as access to the database service team. That means if you are feeling some issue during upgrade, you have instant help compared to opening a support case, which may take longer time. In the same way, you may use some of the AWS premium support services such as AMS, that means Amazon AWS Managed Services, which helps you to operate your AWS environment more efficiently and securely. Or else, if you have high number of databases and you need to have the hands-on assistance, you may use ProServe assistance from AWS. These are a few assistance or help from AWS. Some of these are the paid services, and feel free to use if you want to gain confidence and want to have the seamless upgrade for your databases.
Got it. That totally makes sense. You have options, right, audience?
Yep, exactly.
On ramp, you have a lot of options. And again, if you still want to discuss further, just send us a note on repost. Just ask a question on repost, right? And we'll be happy to dive deep as well. I just see a lot of people joining. Daniel, glad that your audio is working again. So that's awesome. Cool. So we are going to switch gears, right? We are almost towards the end of the show, but I'm going to keep the last bit of things as an icing on the cake, right? One of the key things which I hear from customers is, right, these upgrades can be a little tricky because there is some downtime, right? But during reInvent last year, or I think the year before, we launched a very exciting feature called blue-green deployments within the database world as well, right? Which can probably kind of minimize or avoid the downtime at all. So I would love to touch on that topic, Kiran and Vivek, right? Who would like to talk about blue-green deployments?
Kiran is our blue-green deployment expert. She will take care of it.
Yeah, I wanted to show you in the demo actually.
Yeah. I would love that.
So awesome. How do you create this blue-green deployment and how can we upgrade it?
Yeah.
Okay. So let's start the demo. You can see my screen.
Yeah, we can see your screen.
So here, as you can see, this is the test environment which I have created. First of all, let's go ahead and look at the instance configuration details to make sure the engine version, right? So as you can see, this is the engine version 10.4, which I wanted to use for the blue-green deployment to upgrade it to the major version, right? So now there are certain things that I always wanted to suggest before implementing the blue-green deployment, right? As a prerequisite, we have to make sure that you have a RDS backup enabled, automated backup. Otherwise, this feature cannot be succeeded. And also, I have seen another issue, like, customers who are having the secrets manager, right? Where they wanted to use this one for the master user passwords. So even if you're using the secrets manager, that can also not be able to, you cannot use the blue-green deployment. In order to use this blue-green deployment, you have to use the managed one. So make sure you are not falling under these limitations. And also there are so many other limitations which you can take a look at the documentation, like RDS proxy, if you wanted to do it through the CloudFormation. Those are the not versions, there are specific versions only supports the blue-green deployment. Those are some limitations. So make sure you are not falling under those limitations. And just to go for this option for the blue-green deployment, right? So once this is done, since I'm using the MySQL, another prerequisite for me is to check the bin logs. So in that, I have to go to the parameter group. Here I'm using the default parameter group, and here I wanted to make sure that bin logs is being enabled.
Got it. So bin log is what Blue Green will use behind the scene.
Correct. Yeah. Correct. So you have to make sure the bin logs is being enabled, so you can start using this feature, right? Now that we have enabled everything, now let's go ahead and create the Blue Green deployment. Here for the naming place, like, I'm going to use the major version upgrade, right? And this is the Blue environment, which if you can drop down here, there are a number of versions that we have. So for our demo purpose, I'm going to use the major recommended version, right? And I'm going to keep the default parameter group and the standard one. I'm not going to change anything much. And the storage, IOPS, everything remains same. And here, I'm going to click on the next. Okay, this is the space. I'm sorry, it is taking the space. It doesn't allow the spaces. I'm sorry.
Yeah.
Now let's go ahead and create that one. And now if you can see here, the blue and environment identifier, the blue is the test, and this is what it is going to be test green. And make sure that you have seen everything, like, engine version, you wanted to wish to 11.4, and the parameter groups here, you can also change the parameter group to the custom parameter group if you want. And since I'm using the default, I'm just keeping it the same way. And the instance class also, if you wanted to change, you can change it. And everything looks fine and everything. And you can see the estimated cost, how much it is going to incur you if you're using this feature, right? This is the feature it is going to use the cost. And once you are done, you can hit the create button. And this will take a while to create the blue-green deployment. So in the interest of time, I have created the test environment where with the same version, as you can see here, configuration 10.5, and here is my green environment. As you can see, this is the upgraded version 11.4. So once you feel like, everything is done, like, since this green is available for this one, it is the time you have to test. You can run some tests, right? So if you feel like, everything is running good, and you feel like, the console and everything is performing well as per your needs of your application, you can go ahead and do the switchover. But there are certain two things, Anup, we always recommend customers to see. One is the bin log replica lag, right? So for that, you can go and check the replica lag on your green instance. You can just select the replica lag and make sure that replica lag is as low as possible, because 0 is the one of the recommended thing. And also make sure that the database connections are not high. That's another example, like, for the best practice, like, you should always plan when you have the low maintenance, like, low database connection or database load. So that is the time you can go ahead and perform this switchover.
That's awesome. Before you clicked create, right, you showed that, comparison, which has blue and green instances, and it even spoke about the cost, which is pretty transparent, telling you, like, hey, this is how much you're going to, kind of bear the cost, right, for blue and green, right? And it's just a matter of probably few days. You keep it right, and then you do the cut over and all, and the database endpoint, right? You have a DNS entry and whatnot, right? Is that all seamlessly handled behind the scene?
Right. Yeah. So that will happen. Multiple steps will happen behind the scenes, actually. Like, when we click on the switchover, there are certain things that will take care. Like, it will drop the connection, right? It will drop the connection, and it will wait for the replication to catch up from the blue to the green. And once it is done, it will also rename the database instance, right? So it will rename, for example, we have the test here and the test green, right? So the names will be changed here. And at the same point, endpoints will also be changed. And that way, the application, you don't need to worry about changing at the application level. So everything happens behind the scenes. And finally, it will allow the connections once we hit the switchover. So there is a specific time which I wanted to talk about.
Yeah.
Now that we are done with this testing, now I'm going to action and switchover. Are you guys ready for that?
Yeah, let's do this.
Okay, cool. So here is the summary. I definitely wanted you to take a look at this thing. Everything looks fine. And once you have thing, this is the timeout setting. This is what we have to talk. That period start, you can start with like 30 seconds to 1 hour. So the default is the 5 minutes, as you can see. You can change to whatever the interval that you wanted to. And if this switchover doesn't take place during this time, it will roll back. So make sure that you select the time which is apt for your use case, and by default you can keep it to the 5 minutes if you want.
Yeah, it's that's beautiful, right? It's like a break glass, right? If something goes wrong, you pretty much like, go back or
Yes.
whatever it is, right? It's pretty awesome. Yeah, I love it. I love it for sure.
And hit the switchover, and as I mentioned, the behind the scenes, those are all the steps it will take care of, and you don't need to worry about the endpoint change.
Yeah, it's so seamless. Blue green is always pretty common in the DevOps space. You talk about application and whatnot. The day when it started coming to databases, that's when I got excited, and I love to see this live as well.
Sure.
Great. So again, the switchover can take a couple of minutes, right? Is that what you said? Yeah.
Yeah, it's going to take a couple of
Doing
minutes.
all the magic of DNS, DNA. Yep, got it. On an average, how much you have seen? Just randomly.
If it is a heavily workload, like you might have some more time, right? Let's say, like if you have a logical replication attached to that, or if you have the cascading replicas. Replicas is where you are doing the backward replication. Also, like if there is no DML activities are happening, those are some good cases that you can see better way to do that. So that's why you always select the maintenance window when you are doing this switchover. That way you do not have a heavy weighted duty that is happening behind the scenes, right? So it can find the quiet point easily, and then it can do the switchover smoothly as you can think of. But there are multiple tenancy, like multi-tenancy architecture, where they cannot take not even a single downtime, and their applications are very huge, right?
Yeah.
So those are the situations it becomes really hectic, like it becomes a little tricky when you are selecting the time. So always test it. Test is the one way that you can get the ballpark of how much amount it is going to take the switchover before directly implementing on your production instance, right? So that's something like I always suggest. Test it over and do this option, see if it is feasible. And if this option is not feasible for you, there are other couple of options like the read replica. You can use the read replica and upgrade the process, or you can use the in-place upgrade itself, or you can also use the DMS, right, for the limited downtime if you wanted to. So every application needs are different way, and choose the upgrade option, whatever it works for you.
Awesome. Yeah, a lot of options there. Absolutely. That's cool. And I guess you're cutover completed too. That's on time.
Yeah, as you can see, just two.
Yeah. And again, when you do the blue green, you can actually change the instance type. You can have a different parameter group. You can do all the goodness, right? You can even change the storage behind the scene.
Right.
Everything is possible. So you can pretty much actually do a lot of things if you really want to do in one shot, right? Like during that blue green as well.
Yeah.
Great. We are almost coming on time with this show here. But again, before you we wrap up, right? On the MariaDB side of things, we were talking about blue-green. On the MariaDB side of things, Kiran, exactly like Vivek shared, right? Is there a calendar so that people can, our customers or our community can understand, like, hey, what are some of the, engines which are close to EOL, like the classic calendar, right? Do you want to talk about that?
Yeah, this is the link that we usually check.
Cool.
Yeah, and this is where we usually see the major version updates, release dates, and as well as what is the end date for that. As you can see earlier, I was talking about the 10.5. 10.4 is already deprecated, which is gone. But now let's focus on the 10.5, which is coming up for the February 2026. So similarly, you can look for the other major versions, 10.6, 11, and 11.4. So anything that comes, it comes as with the release date and as well as the end of standard support for the RDS as well as the community.
Got it. Awesome. Great. Cool. So I think we are almost at time, right? So the audience, if you have any last minute questions, let us know. We are still here for a few more minutes to kind of wrap up. So if you have any last minute questions, just let us know. Happy to take that as well. But overall, right, as a summary, we kind of discussed about end of support for some of the Aurora PostgreSQL engines and MariaDB, end of standard support actually. And then for PostgreSQL there is extended support. For MariaDB there is no extended support. We also looked at some of the repost questions around hey, should I be worried about an option group, right? So Vivek went deep into option group, spoke about parameter group as well, and then we looked at MariaDB upgrade is going on, it's getting its stuck state, etc. So Kiran was able to dive deep and talk about that as well. And last but not the least, you saw blue-green deployment. I highly encourage everybody to kind of take a look at blue-green deployment. That actually makes life much easy for you all, right? So that's what we discussed for the last 50 minutes or so. So pretty exciting topic. I hope the show was really helpful for you to make your database upgrade much more easier and make your life easy as well, right? So that's what we discussed. As a kind of action item, right? Just head over to repos.aws if you haven't done that yet. Choose your favorite browser, repos.aws. Sign up using your AWS account ID or builder ID. There is a lot of goodness choosing builder ID too. So just sign up to repos.aws, explore the platform, ask questions, interact with us. And then while you are there, right, you please take some time to subscribe to Repost as well. We have a tag there to follow. So follow Repost so that you will get insights about all our upcoming show as well. And in the chat, there is a survey that you can take. So that survey will be really helpful for us to understand what we're doing great, what we would like to improve, or what you would like us to improve. We always love feedback. So let us know. And if there is any specific topic which you would like in the show, we will do that as well. So take that survey as well. Next week, which is going to be March 18th, 2 p.m., as you see in the screen, 2 p.m. Pacific and 5 p.m. EDT, we have an exciting topic around encryption, FIFO ordering, and message lifecycle in SQS. SQS was the first service that was launched by AWS. So we're going to dive deep into SQS as well. So, subscribe to Repost. Subscribe here on Twitch, LinkedIn, Facebook, YouTube for all the Repost goodness. So until next time, happy building. Thank you, Kiran and Vivek.
Thank you.
Thank you.